A friend of mine, she's for her whole life has been an animal person. And so she used to own a dog kennel and, you know, on the side would train and kind of like help out with things like that. And she said, like, the best piece of advice I've ever gotten around dogs is dogs are always looking to revert to their natural state. And training a dog is a lifelong, 100% all of the time thing. Like, a dog is never done being trained. So you always have to keep training them. Otherwise, they're going to like try to go back to their wolf state. Hey, Jess.
Hello. Wolf state.
You're a dog person, right, Jess?
Yes, I am.
You got a dog.
All right. So you can weigh in on this. Lexi has some wild theories about dogs.
Okay, tell me.
The earliest domesticated animal.
Yes.
All it wants, though, is to get back to its feral roots, to destroy us all.
It wants to do what it wants to do. And so if that's like eat the chicken off the counter, it's going to eat the chicken off the counter. And if you get in between dog and chicken and you're not on it for training, depending on the day, the dog could be cool with it or the dog could bite you. And the bigger the dog and the smaller the child, like kids are like, especially little kids, dogs are used to patterns and familiar things, and little kids are unpredictable. And so if a kid who has a temper tantrum one day, then the dog's not expecting it, it can shock them out of it and they revert back to that like stage. So big dogs are super, super scary. Little dogs, like all dogs are dangerous. And so when I see videos of like the baby or the toddler with any dog like right by their face, I'm like, oh, you want to lose your face.
Yeah.
Like, it's so, so dangerous. And there's no good time for little kids to be around dogs when people are like, oh, just get the dog and the baby together. No. The kid needs to be old enough to know, no, yes, like consistent. Like, I would say like a 7-year-old is probably maybe old enough, but anything younger, you are tempting fate.
My dogs fucking hate kids.
Yes, Jess. Yes.
I just like don't bring them around kids because I'm like,
same.
I'm putting my dog in a situation where the dog is going to act like a dog and the kid is going to act like a kid and the dog is going to fucking win. And I don't want any kids to be traumatized by my personal dog.
Interesting. It's funny how much advice I got to the contrary.
Well, okay. Are you talking to people with kids or are you talking to people who have no kids, just dogs?
I'm talking to people trying to offload dogs, dog dealers, if you will.
Yes, exactly. Dog dealers always. I mean,
fucking liars.
I have 2 dogs because of dog dealers.
How dare they?
So
put me in that situation. Tell me that. Get the dog when it's a puppy and let them grow up together and it'll be chill and calm and they'll know each other.
I don't know. I was never a little kid around dogs. Like, I didn't get my first dog till I was like 13.
I didn't grow up with dogs because my dad was super, super allergic. And so we just didn't have dogs in the house. But John did. But they were outside dogs and they were farm dogs. And so like there was rules about like they live outside and they're at work right now and we live in the house. And so there's different rules. But I had a friend in art school who, when she was maybe like 4 or 5, she got mauled by a pit bull.
Jesus.
And she was like walking down the street one day, as you know, we did back in the day without an adult, right? Do. And this dog came out of the yard at her and it went for her just because it's like she was little and it was unfamiliar. And he was like, what's that? And it mauled her and she was in the hospital for so long. And she said the only movie that she would watch was Milo and Otis. And so now she's obsessed with pugs.
Are you kidding me? I love that her recovery from a dog mauling was more dogs.
Was more a different type of dog. And I told that story to a woman that I worked with who bred huskies. And she said the issue with some of the bully breeds is people are always like, it's the owner, not the breed or whatever. And other people like, no. And she said the issue from her perspective was bully breeds have a locking jaw. And it's not so much that they're more violent, but when they are violent, they you up way more than if like a poodle bit you because their jaws lock and tear.
Yeah, they're designed to do that. Yeah.
So that's why when people are like, adopt a dog, take baby pictures, I'm like, oh man, that's a roll of the dice.
No. I mean, also, though, it depends on the dog. Like, I have herding dogs that they see a little kid, like, running around, and they're like, I'm going to fuck this up. This thing's going for my sheep. Yeah. And it doesn't matter that they've never had any sheep. They just want to go for them. Mm-hmm. But, like, lots of, like, golden retrievers and stuff, those are bred to be family dogs. Like, lap dogs, way less likely to do shit like that, so... Are you like actively trying to get a dog for your kids?
We were looking into it. No, we decided not to this week after
just not this week.
a slight scare.
Oh no.
No, we're gonna wait a couple years now. Yeah, a dog just jumped up on my son.
'Cause that's what they do.
They were having a great time, and it just freaked him. Yeah, I mean, no, it's just he didn't hurt my son or anything. He just freaked him out, and that was like, okay, well, you're not quite ready for this. I'm not going to traumatize you and make you feel unsafe in your own house.
Yeah. I mean, my worst nightmare would be to have a kid and then have to like get rid of my dogs or get rid of my kid, you know, like either or. Like I just
Someone's
don't want that.
Go.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'd have to see, right? It depends. Depends on who I end up getting more attached to, I guess. In lighter news, I just finished editing the Dork Valley Return to the problem of Eric Barone calling his girlfriend after 8 years. I asked Ryan what he thought because like, obviously we're not married. And like, I know it's the same for you and John, Lexi. And Ryan was like, I wonder if there's like an acronym. And I was like, okay, what would be the acronym for long-term unmarried partnership? And it's lump.
Oh, you got to get that lump removed.
If anybody asks, you got to say, oh yeah, this is my lump.
Living that lump life.
Lump life. That's wonderful.
Feel free to use that, you guys.
I'm in love with that. That's awesome.
Have you and Ryan gone partner as your terminology, or do you say girlfriend, boyfriend still, and pass notes and twirl your hair?
It kind of depends on who I'm talking to. Like, it depends. If I'm talking to like a Gen Z, then I'll be like my boyfriend, so that they know that I'm cool.
And then you dab.
But if I'm trying to do adult stuff,
common law is interesting. I don't understand it, and I don't want to.
Just in the eyes of the law, we are all married.
Oh, to each other, everyone.
Yeah.
Just living in sin.
We're all one big happy family.
Yeah.
Well, in the house.
We're all at one giant polycule.
You know, it's an interesting concept, though, like what factors as like sort of a codependent relationship for legal status, like, you know, caregivers, et cetera, live-in caregivers, long-term caregivers. There's some interesting area there for like what should provide tax relief, et cetera, et cetera.
And they're all just in a little box on a form that you give to the government.
Let's talk about the government.
This is such an adult podcast.
I just have a box full of cash. That's tax evasion.
That's a good way to do
There's
it.
a hole in the back.
Unmarked bills.
It's just buried.
In a way.
Just buried in the
And I use it to tip people that take garbage out of my yard.
Oh, there you go.
Do you actually like tip people for taking garbage out of your yard?
Depends on who. There is a certain, like, it depends on who you've hired to do what. Like,
sorry. These are people you're hiring for that service.
Yeah. I don't just ask
like
somebody to come into the yard and grab trash.
Like, you there, come.
You did not give enough information for me to be able to figure that out.
Is it still Christmas?
Come take this garbage and turkey away.
Yeah. Go down to the shop and get me a turkey. The big one in the window. The one as big as me. Yes, boy. Oh, good boy. Funny boy.
I knew that we were getting closer and closer to Christmas season, which means we're going to be hearing a lot more Christmas Carol out of this one.
It's a wonderful story.
I know you do.
Victorian morals. You know what? The older I get, the more I think that, like, Scrooge is misinterpreted in the modern sort of tale. I think people are misunderstanding. I need to collect.
He's the Jeff Bezos of the time.
See, that's
How do you misunderstand?
I need to collect my thoughts about this before I bring it to you both, or else it's just going to get ripped apart so quickly.
Is Scrooge the Jeff Bezos or is Scrooge the Elon Musk?
He's neither. He's not out flashing his money around trying to be like the most influential person in the world. He wants to be left alone.
Rupert Murdoch.
Ooh.
He doesn't want to be bothered. He's like... Yeah, the money is almost incidental to sort of his disinterest in participating in society, which I think is the larger part of things.
Would that not be Jeff Bezos who refuses to like pay a minimum wage that's normal, have a bathroom?
The dude is out and just shaking his dick all over the place right now.
But he's not participating in society by giving his workers like a good working life or condition, which means he's not willing to like be a part of the whole.
Sure. And in that way, yes. Amazon is his Cratchit. But I mean, personality-wise, they're not quite on the same level. They're
not yet.
Their disassociation from society is
Give
different.
Jeff Bezos time.
Bezos is out there wearing mesh shirts, going to like Fire Festival too.
Yeah, but he's still he's probably just having a midlife crisis.
He's got to, right?
He's clearly having some sort of crisis.
Wait until he's Scrooge age, you know?
Do you think that there's moments where I have panics where I'm like, I'm getting old, and then I wonder if I had that amount of money, what crazy shit would I be like, I'm just going to do this because I'm panicking about my age and I have billions of dollars. I don't know what I do.
It's wild. You could save the world and instead you chose to make a rocket and fire it into space for no fucking reason, just so the whole world could see you ejaculate.
You know what though? I literally, when you said that, Lexi, I was like, what would I do? And I was like, I'd probably get lip fillers. I've always wanted lip fillers and they're just expensive to keep up with.
We dream big here on Dork Matters. We hate dogs and we dream big.
But Ben, the fact that you were like, oh, you could people shoot rockets into
That's
space.
what they're doing.
I think something just as selfish, but much smaller
because
scale,
you're a millennial.
But still selfish.
Our selfish, our form of luxury is 2 avocados on your piece of toast.
The good Korean eye care.
Yeah, we're gonna have
skincare stuff.
We're gonna have 4 coffees today, and one of them might be a flavored one.
Ooh.
Yeah. Plants in every part of your house.
Oh my God.
I put up as many plants as I want. Fiona doesn't stop me. I got a pineapple plant. I killed it, but I got it.
Those die really quickly. I was going to get one and they die super fast.
It was super, I'm actually pretty
sad?
good at raising plants, but it's a weird break.
Pineapple plants. They're not native to here.
No.
Why they wouldn't like it?
No, but indoor you can grow them pretty well. I have an orange tree that's doing quite well indoor.
Okay.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I love plants.
Like a orange tree, or are they different little mini?
No, it's one of those mini varieties that are super tart. They're really delicious.
That would be adorable.
I forget the name, Sapsua or something like that. I forget.
Oh, Satsuma.
No, that's the Mandarin. This doesn't matter. Nobody gives a shit what kind of orange I'm.
Somebody out there is listening to this and is a passionate orange grower.
More orange talk, please.
Finally.
How did the rind feel? It's a short walk from special interest to fetish, isn't it?
I mean, there is a very fine line.
I guess so. You've just demonstrated.
Is there a person out there who's gets into they're rubbing orange rinds on themselves and that's what does it for them?
There's something out there for everyone. Absolutely.
That's Rule 42. If you can imagine it exists on the internet, probably as porn.
Maybe that's a good segue. You know what I heard?
Please.
Oh, no.
I'm horrified.
That Joe Rogan.
Oh, yeah.
That Joe Rogan gets off on the doorbell ringing.
Ooh.
So that's why he orders a lot of DoorDash.
And Amazon. Just one click buy.
Is that real? I hope that's real.
Who's to say, Jess?
That's for our dear listeners to figure out. We will pepper this episode with Joe Rogan facts. Some of them real, some of them not. And the great thing about this is it's going to be difficult for anyone to understand which of these things he does or does not do. Joe Rogan fact is... You got another one for us, Lex?
Oh, yeah. Joe Rogan's favorite cartoon character is Snoopy.
I believe that.
I mean, yeah, he's my favorite character. One of my favorite characters. Joe Rogan promised to pay for dinner and didn't.
Fuck Joe Rogan. Classic Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan.
Type of thing.
We've got a lot more of those to pepper out. We are talking about podcasting, which is why we asked Jess, who's usually just cutting out our dumb shit, to help us say some dumb shit tonight.
Yeah, now I get to cut out my own dumb shit.
Or amplify it. You should just do an edit where it's just you talking like a monologue and get rid of us completely. A whole Jess episode.
I'm sure that would be so listenable.
I mean... It can't be worse than what we do.
Welcome to my TED Talk.
We should do a TED Talk episode. I have a lot of criticisms for TED Talks.
That'll be fun.
Which will be my TED Talk. Podcasting. A podcast is a program made available in digital format for download over the internet. For example, an episodic series of digital audio files that a user can listen to at a time of their choosing. Does that sound like a good definition of podcast to you too?
That seems reasonable, yeah.
Yeah. I had a lot more like terminology than I would do, but
I would love to get into terminology. The etymology of podcast itself is a portmanteau of iPod and cast something or other. I forget. Broadcasting. Thank you. That makes the most sense. The first ever podcast is debatable. There's a long history, audio blogging, etc. But the general agreed upon is Adam Curry's something open source life or something silly like that. I should figure that out. That's silly. But yeah, in August 2004 was the first broadcast of his sort of show. That's generally considered to be the first sort of audio blog to use the term podcast. That's our rundown. That's sort of our, hey, did you know what a podcast is? Be fucked up if you didn't, since you're listening to this.
Yeah, what?
We're going to get into that. We're going to get into some of our most disappointing podcasts.
What?
We'll get into it. Let's do the theme song for now. It's good enough intro to this podcasting episode.
Rough episode. Oh
it's already terrible. Welcome back to the show. This is Dork Matters, a dorky podcast for dorks. I'm your dad dork host, Ben Wrinkle, and with me, as always, is Lexi Hunt, your ed dorkator.
Hello.
And with us, not so always, is Jessica Schmidt, our editor, ed dorkator, and pro dorkster. It doesn't work as well. Jess makes our show less shitty.
Hello.
Hi, Jess. Thanks for joining us.
Hello. Thank you for asking me.
Why did we beg you to come on the show this time?
To talk about podcasts. My favorite thing.
Podcasts.
That's right. We're going to dork out about podcasts. Are podcasts legitimately your favorite thing, Jess?
They're pretty up there, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think I like them too.
Yeah. They maybe have fallen off a little bit since I started doing them full time, honestly. I feel like I listened to podcasts a lot more before I was making a lot of podcasts, but I still like them.
You edit podcasts, you produce podcasts, you literally record your own podcast as well. So you're pretty immersed.
Mm-hmm.
And as somebody who has made an art form for a living and seen how it drops off your consumption of said art form pretty significantly, I get it.
Yeah.
People are like, what comics are you reading? I was like, I stopped reading comics when I started making them. I don't have time for that anymore.
Yeah. It's sad but true.
No, I still pick up the graphic novel, but the individual issues are...
It's hard
to keep up on.
To continue.
Yeah, the serial sort of nature. Speaking of serial...
Ooh, good segue.
Well, if we talk about serial, it's good. But if I just try to steer us back to podcasting in general, it's less succinct. What should we start with? You want to give us sort of an idea, Jess, of like podcasting as a medium, what you think of it, why we do it?
Yeah.
What do we like about podcasting?
So many questions. There's a lot of really big questions.
Pick your favorite and just roll with it.
Okay. What I like about podcasting is I generally just think it's a really excellent form of media, especially broadcast media, because a lot of the time when you get into broadcast media like TV or movies or even like YouTube to some degree now, it's got a really high threshold for access. It requires a lot of production for it to be really good. And honestly, like the amount of people doing it outside of like very professional in those kind of forms of medium is like very small. Like you see like really big peaks of like Hollywood makes a lot of movies. There's not a ton of like independent documentaries or whatever. But podcasting, literally anybody with a microphone can make a podcast. It's pretty easy to get good at making podcasts. It's pretty easy to teach yourself how to make podcasts. And like podcasts.
Feels like shots fired.
Well, I'm glad you guys want to hire me to make the podcast. Like,
we're not getting better.
No, but I think you guys are though. Like the way that you have structured your content. That. Like, I don't know. I see an improvement, and like it's something.
Thank you, Jess.
Yeah, you're welcome, guys. I've listened to every single episode, so you have to believe me when I say that. But
2 out of 3 of us have. I'd just like to note again that Lexi does not listen to the show.
Depending on the season, I'm just faster in other seasons than in my on season.
I don't know what that means, but I'm going to leave it.
Working season, school season.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you meant. I thought you meant you made it faster through season 1 than season 2.
No, sorry. Like when I'm at work, I'm like, must listen to podcast eventually. And in the summer, I'm like on it.
Yeah, you listen to the entire back catalog in the summer.
Yeah.
I listened to it on the drive to work, and actually shout out to Mary Lynn, who I work with, who started listening to the podcast on her walks. And she's like, I feel like I'm walking with friends.
Oh, that's so nice.
And that's what we want.
Cute.
Right?
Legit, after you brought up that sort of aspect of things, Jess, during our yearly review, I've given serious consideration to floating the idea of changing the podcast name. So I was going to see what you two thought about it tonight.
Friends with Dorks.
Yeah, seriously, or Dorks with Friends. One of those two. Friends. It feels more descriptive. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I feel really attached to Dork Matters now after 2 seasons.
It's got a good logo too. I have to go back to Adam and ask him if he'd do more, and he'd be like, "No, one was enough."
This can be the tagline though, like Dork Matters, Dorking with Friends.
Yeah, Friends with Dorks. Right? Friends with Dorks is good. A dorky podcast for dorks I like, but we could always switch it up.
Could it be like Friends with Dorkafits or something?
I floated that, and I don't think anyone liked it.
It just looks bad to
That
write.
sounds like something you would say.
It does look bad. It looks really shitty typed out.
There's something about like the E benefits is just like really bad next to the K and the T.
It does. There's something about it. Cork.
Yeah. Is it the T?
It could be. I think it's more the K.
It's the F. It's the K.
Hard sounds.
It's the
hard.
K. It's the cacophonic sounds. That's why my last name is so shitty, and why my wife didn't take it.
I mean, like her name's iconic.
Yeah, her name is iconic.
Yeah. Well, there's that part.
Why didn't you take her name, Ben?
I thought about it. I seriously considered it, but
Ben Stables.
And this is getting into sort of I'm getting too serious all of a sudden, but like the consideration is that her last name is actually her father's last name.
That's true.
And it's a British last name as well. And so there's a lot of history there. And it's also just sort of furthering this sort of misogynistic approach to naming conventions that I'm just like, well, if I'm going to have a male last name that's like passed down from that aspect, why switch to another one? Now, the other problem would be if we switch to her mother's maiden name, then suddenly we're using an incorrect last name, and two, a ethnic last name that I don't have any right to. So that would have been weird too.
Oh, good answer.
Such a mire.
Yeah, so I just stuck with Rankle.
I like to say it with a French accent.
Once in college, I tried to French it. I tried to French it up for a while. Yeah, Rankle.
Rankle.
Yeah.
Oh no, I meant like not actually French. I just use that as a term for fancying things up.
Oh my
French it up.
But it would, French it up. You know, you're gonna add a little spice to something. You French it up.
Put a little stank on that French.
Yeah. Give it a little je ne sais quoi, if you will. Pouget à la toilette. That's pretty good. Somebody out there understood what I just said.
12 years of French education there,
Not
folks.
because they canceled. In our province, they canceled French education halfway through our education.
Well, you only have to take it up, like it has to, okay, I'm not going to get into it. It doesn't
Right. It was mandatory up until we hit grade 7. And then in grade 7, they stopped making it mandatory and made an elective. And everybody's like, no, I don't want to do hard work.
The thinking.
This is Alberta. We want to get rich quick.
You know what, though? If anybody else is like in the situation where they're like, should I continue pursuing French? I had to pay $2,500 in college to take French classes to get a language requirement.
Wow.
So if you're considering going to college, you could just save $2,500 by going to French class in high school.
I switched to German instead, and me and Frau Van Donsel never really got along.
Oh my God. That's amazing.
I've heard it's like classically kind of difficult to get on with Germans.
Really?
Period, so.
Well, German, the language. I feel like, yes. But like, okay, I had friends that moved to Germany, to Berlin, to open a glass studio, like a glass blowing studio. And
so cool.
They went there and they were like, this is going to be so awesome. They opened it up and they said their first open house, there was like a lineup of Germans, like very like severe, like, why are you doing this? And they were like, because it's cool. And they're like, you will fail because this is a silly idea.
Whoa.
And they were right.
Honest. Oh no. Sad.
And I told that story to a German exchange teacher and she's like, well, it does sound like a very silly idea. Did they fail? Because it sounds like they would have failed. And I was like, oh my God, you're real.
Oh my goodness. That's bananas. Berlin has so much art.
But like for Germans, Germans for Germans. That sounds weird.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's a Hitler line there, Lex.
Oh, this is
We're towing the line, you guys.
Real awkward. I'm sorry.
Lex, put your arm down.
Just jokes.
You're making everyone uncomfortable.
No.
What are you doing? We came to talk about podcasting, not your thoughts on white nationalism.
Oh my gosh.
There's no good way out of this.
There's no good way out of this.
Joe Rogan fact. Joe Rogan is a Nazi.
Oh my God. I knew you were going to take it to the dark immediately.
A lot of people don't know this, but Joe Rogan has an SS symbol tattooed on his taint. Do you know Joe Rogan believes in basic income?
What?
That seems true. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. That one's actually true. I'll give you that one for free. Actually does. He's a
weird little mix. Eh?
No, he's not that weird of a mix. He's got 5% weird that you like this at all, and then 95% you're a transphobic, racist, misogynist.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
So that one was true too.
Yeah. He knows how to do media really good. I will give him that.
I got a good one.
Well, we can't talk about podcasting without talking about Joe Rogan. He is the most popular podcaster and basically has been since 2009.
Do you want a fun fact?
Hit us with a fun fact.
Joe Rogan's first family pet was a baby goat named Jim.
Jim Rogan.
Jim Rogan.
Jim Rogan.
So funny.
Jim Rogan the goat.
Next time we play D&D, my character is going to be Jim Rogan.
And it has to be somehow related to goat. I feel like there's no goat
it has to be a goat.
species in D&D, but you can make something.
Yeah, there is.
There?
Yeah, there's a number of. Yeah,
is there a goat species?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm blanking on the name right now. And then there's also satyrs and stuff like that.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
The Greek stuff.
Oh my God, he's going to be a Joe Rogan satyr.
Joe Rogan satyr.
That would be great.
Just super mad and yelling all the time and constantly taking performance.
But with his tiny little feet. Bleat. Hey, Herc.
Oh.
Bleat.
Hey, Herc. Yeah.
Definitely a bard.
He's got to be a bard, yeah.
He has to be. He's a performer. His type of performance is town square yelling. And playing the pan flute, apparently. Pipe flute.
Yeah, he has to. A satyr plays a pan flute. Yeah. It's just what they do.
It's just what they do. It's genetic.
Joe Rogan fact. Size 7 shoes.
Oh. U.S. or European?
U.S. Small feet.
Oh.
Very small feet. Can't tell because they're always below the desk. Just swinging off the end of the chair like a school kid.
So true. How has anyone ever seen Joe Rogan's feet?
No, yeah, they're like little Muppet legs that just kick around.
Flapping. Can we say enough shit about Joe Rogan where he at least takes us down on his podcast?
Yeah, we're going to get in trouble.
I hope he listens to this.
There's no way.
How many times do you have to say Joe Rogan? It's must be a Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary.
3 times while turning around in front of the mirror. Yeah.
Yeah, and he comes out of the computer at you to tell you that you need to drink more protein powder mix.
Yeah, if you say Joe Rogan 3 times while spinning in front of a mirror, he jumps out to tell you that trans athletes aren't competing on the same fair level.
Wow.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, I like this form. If you say Joe Rogan 3 times, he comes out of your microphone and tells you that you need to nut up more.
One more Joe fact, and then we should actually talk about podcasting. Joe Rogan actually had his testicular hair transplanted into his eyebrows, which went bald with his alopecia.
Oh. Hey, you know what? Good for him.
Yeah, whatever you need to do.
That surgery done.
Alopecia is serious.
Alopecia is serious. I can't tell if Joe Rogan's actually bald or if he just shaves his head.
It could be both.
I think he shaves his head, yeah.
Yeah. Well, he certainly shaves his testicles.
For his eyebrows.
Because we can see those pubes up on his eyebrows.
Thanks, Joe Rogan.
Thanks, Joe Rogan.
One more. Joe Rogan pushed his mom down the stairs.
Because she beat him at Monopoly.
One more. Joe Rogan's cousin is Gerard Way.
I don't know who that is.
Oh my goodness.
From My Chemical Romance.
You just lost millennial cred.
That's not real.
Because you got to know My Chemical Romance, The Black Parade.
Yeah.
I mean, I know My Chemical. Here's the fun fact about me. I can listen to a song 100 times in a row before I get sick of it. I absolutely won't be able to tell you what the name of the song is or the artist or know anything about the artist or know anything else in their discography.
I am generally with you. I'm absolutely with you for the most part.
A song fixate person. I do not, it's very rare for me to fixate on an artist. And if I do fixate on an artist, that one artist, I'll listen to everything that they make.
Go through the whole catalog.
But most of the time, it's just one
with
song.
You. I've been listening to Tibetan bowls, bells, and chants just on loop since my kids started taking baths because it's relaxing.
Ryan just shared me this song today. Song. That's good grammar. But it is apparently 60% anxiety reduction when you listen to it.
Let's see. I have an anxiety disorder. I will be the judge of this one.
Guess what, Ben? You're not special. I have an anxiety disorder too.
Oh, anxiety off.
Wait, Lexi, do you have an anxiety disorder?
I mean, probably.
Okay, Daily Triple.
Weightless by Marconi Union.
Okay, you play your song, then I'll play my song.
Am I just playing this like into the microphone? This is going to be really bad quality.
Is there any better way to do it?
Yeah, I feel like you could share your screen and do it, but this is more classic, I guess.
It's beautiful. It actually is making me uneasy, if I'm being honest.
It made me kind of uneasy, and I was like, I shouldn't be listening to this while I'm driving, but it made me uneasy, and then it also kind of like made my eyes start to relax.
Do we have to listen to a certain amount of it for it to start working?
I feel like listening to it in this really shitty, like over my microphone way is not helpful. I think you should just listen to it on headphones.
We've taken all the power away from it. Okay, I want to do a song too, please.
All right.
You know that scene in Pitch Perfect where they're in the swimming pool? This is like that, but really sad.
Sadder than that.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, that's very nice.
We played this for my eldest son's bath every time you go in.
Oh, that's nice.
Because we read about how you're supposed to have like a beautiful, relaxing bath routine. It never helped. You just start screaming and throwing stuff. And like,
this is not spa behavior.
I still have a special place for this song.
Do you not know how to act in a spa, baby?
You're supposed to have a lowered voice.
I don't either. Why won't you relax? Stop eating the Epsom salts.
Salty.
Kids will eat anything. I put my youngest on the change table to change his poopy butt, and the next thing I know, he's chomping down on a like a handheld fan.
Oh, that's not that bad.
He's ripping off like the foam like blades and just like eating them.
It probably felt great on his teeth.
He's got his teeth, not sure what he was doing there. Yeah. All right, there were things I wanted to get to about podcasting.
So podcasting.
Whatever. This can be.
I want to talk about podcasting. Yeah.
No, let's talk about podcasting.
Right.
I'm here to talk about podcasting. What are your guys' favorite podcasts? You guys can sprinkle in Joe Rogan facts. I'm still enjoying them.
We might have blown them all at once.
Lexi, beautiful hand up.
Thank you, Jess. My most favorite podcast that I listen to quite religiously is Criminal Podcast.
In a suburb outside of Salt Lake City, in a town called Harriman, a 69-year-old woman named Linda Gilman hired a man named Christian Olsen to do some repairs on her condo. After months of working together, Linda Gilman asked for Christian's help with a different sort of project.
And you lean heavily into true crime, correct?
I do, but I don't. You know what? I used to, but I started pulling back because it was so oversaturated that I started listening to the same story over and over again. And I was just like, it's kind of actually grisly to be making all these podcasts off of a very like horrific event. And what I like about Criminal is it's not necessarily stories about of course it's stories of true crime, but it's unique stories of true crime. Like they interviewed in one episode a prosecutor from war crime trials after World War II.
Oh, wow.
Nice light fare.
But then they also do, they interviewed a guy who had a tiger in Florida or something at a gas station, and it was like his roadside attraction, and he had to fight the law to have this tiger, and then they got into the ethics of it. And so it's a nice little mix of all types of criminal behavior and activity.
Would you like our show to be more criminal?
No.
Okay.
Flat.
We're good.
Absolutely
we talked about taking on a true crime and doing a special mini series. We never got around to it.
No, but I feel like if we were to do that, it would be I wouldn't want to just tell the same stories that other people do. I'd want to do something that's a little more.
Well, that one that we chatted about was unique. Hopefully we'll get to do that in some format at some point.
Do that one.
Yeah.
I think you should.
What about you guys? What's your favorite?
Well, I used to be a big true crime fan, but I realized it was making my anxiety a lot worse. So I stopped listening to true crime, especially because I was listening to it like at night and then I was not sleeping. So now I exclusively listen to true crime on car trips. But I've kind of found the same thing as you, Lexi, where I'm like, I feel like I've heard this story before. But some podcasts that I really like, this is a little bit of an older one, but there's one called Bear Brook that is a true crime. Love Bear Brook.
Yes,
and that's a good one too, because it's like a really compelling story and it's a cold case. And they talk a lot about the science that goes into like chasing down cold cases and true crime. So that was really cool.
Good pick.
Thank you. You had a good pick too. Criminal is a good show.
That's a good show. Yeah.
Oh boy, my pick's not going to be good. Nobody likes my pick.
What is it?
I mean, you know, I don't listen to real life.
What does that mean?
Like, I don't listen to like anything real. I don't read like nonfiction. Like, I'm a complete escapist. I'm trying to disassociate. That's what I want. I want to get away from existing. Call that a leftover from trauma response from when I was a kid, but I would just want to escape. So my favorite right now is Dungeons and Daddies, not a BDSM podcast.
Great tagline. I love their tagline.
It really is. Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah. It's Anthony Birch, who, if you recall, is sort of famous from doing that web series, that early web series with his sister, Ashley Birch.
Ashley, what you playing?
Good callback. But anyhow, yeah, it's him. It's Freddie Wong, the guy who got famous on the internet for doing all those like special effects, like gun YouTube videos and stuff like that. And then them and some friends that have some other comedians, and they just they do adventures throughout the world and tackle concepts like, you know, generational trauma via D&D. Pretty cool.
That's the problem, Glenn. We're a team, goddammit. When you leave the team, where do we find you? Huh? Where are we? You're betting on children fighting? Are they fighting? Ma'am, over here? Excuse me? Yeah. What sort of establishment is this? What sort of fights are these?
Oh, this is orphan fights.
That's about 20 times worse than I thought it was. I thought this was like a special child fight,
okay.
You know, maybe in the day.
Sorry, it's foster children, not orphans. I lied. I'm slightly wrong.
Oh,
that's okay.
I don't know if that's better or worse. It's the same.
Did you want any appetizers or drinks?
We'll take
a spinach cheese dip. You got spinach cheese dip?
Absolutely.
Chicken wings.
Anything but spinach cheese dip, then, ma'am.
I like that. And that kind of reminds me of when we had
sciatica.
Yeah, sure.
It reminds you of when we had sciatica.
The back pain. Yeah.
Well, it's more than back pain. A lot of people don't realize this, but sciatica can actually affect your nervous system, like from where the pinched disc is all the way down through your leg.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
I actually did a podcast episode about
fucking
back
awful.
pain.
Sciatica is terrible.
It is awful.
And you know what's worse? Getting it at 19 because you shoveled the sidewalk too hard.
Ooh,
that's bad.
That is bad.
What is your least favorite podcast that you listen to and you're just like,
I don't like where this is going.
No, should we not do it?
No.
We're gonna have the conversation. Let's do it. But I know where it's going and I don't like it.
No, I have a different category. We can start with that. Like podcast you dislike is different. Like I want to know something that like
okay, but no, we can still have that.
If somebody ever recommended one to you and you're just like, do you not know me at all? Like this is not for me.
Yeah, I feel like Armchair Expert.
Yeah,
I feel like I've been recommended Armchair Expert a lot, and I just don't like it.
I have wanted to like Armchair Expert so badly because I like the idea of it, and I just can't get into it either. Is it Dax?
I don't know. It has that celebrity podcast like stank on it. Like some celebrity podcasts are just like genuinely good podcasts, or they started out like what's his butt? The guy who does it out of his garage, Mark Maron. He had a successful podcast and did it like not as I'm Mark Maron, I have a podcast. Like he genuinely like worked very hard on his podcast and then also happens to be like famous. But I don't know, people who are like, I'm famous, I'm gonna like the fucking Meghan Markle podcast.
That's ridiculous.
She has a podcast?
Oh, it went up in flames and is like a huge Spotify deal that like didn't turn into anything.
Oh, right. Just failed.
It's like infamous. It just failed. But it was because it was just like kind of tone deaf and not well produced, and like $1 billion podcast that doesn't sound good, nobody wants to listen to, is irrefutably a bad podcast.
Well, there was one that was like it was a Kim Kardashian podcast, but it wasn't what I thought it was going to be, because I thought it was going to be around I like, forgive me, but like makeup and shit. And there was actually like kind of a true crime about a person who's been wrongfully convicted in jail.
Yeah, because she has a big wrongful conviction and like wrongful imprisonment thing.
And I just was very surprised to hear it. And it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. I wouldn't say that I liked it or that I disliked it. I just was like, huh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think not every celebrity does a celebrity podcast. There are some celebrities who just have podcasts.
Yes. And that's okay.
That sounds like a celebrity with a podcast, not a celebrity with a celebrity podcast.
I will say that for the one that I thought I would like, because I love The Office, but the Office Ladies podcast can't do it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it.
Some people love it.
I wanted to really like Gates McFadden Investigates, but it's just so... There are moments of it that I find very interesting, but it's because I like the people she's talking to and I like hearing the stories from them more than I think it's a good podcast. And it gets very like Hollywood, like, love you, love this, love everything about you. And it's like, it's you can't love that much stuff. Like, this is a little bit insincere.
Celebrity with a celebrity podcast.
But, there's some celebrities like... specifically like the voice actors that I think let's lean more into that, because we listened to this podcast called Twin Flames and I
haven't heard of that one.
It is exceptional. I loved it. It is fascinating because it's about kind of cult culture and how you can build a cult around anything.
I love cult podcasts.
It was July 2019, Toronto. An average hotel meeting room. Beige carpet, rows of gray chairs, a platform at the front. Dozens of people milled around waiting. Among them was Victoria Bonilla.
This was my first time meeting anybody from this group. And it was such an interesting experience because everybody was so awkward.
I love the idea of making a cult. I think if I weren't a podcast parent, I would become a cult leader.
If you listen to this, I feel like you could become a cult leader if you listen to this, but it's Stephanie Beatriz who narrates it. And so Officer Rosa Diaz from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, but she's also a voice actor in many different things. And so we were halfway through it and all of a sudden I was like, wait, this is Rosa. And we were like, that's so weird. But it's not because she's a celebrity, but like it's a really good podcast. So highly recommend that one.
Yeah, Encanto was like that for me as well.
Yeah, that was a great one.
That's a good segue too, because that's a narrative podcast. So that's very different than like a chat format podcast like what we're doing here, and it's very different than like true crime. Like narrative is like something totally different.
Yeah,
I would love to do Wind in the Willows podcast where I just read Wind in the Willows.
You could, I mean, that's technically an audiobook.
Is it?
Yeah.
If you're just reading the book, then yeah, it's an audiobook.
What if I do really funny sounds and voices?
Still an audiobook.
How do I make it not an audiobook? I'm not being clear enough. I'm telling you how do I make it a podcast?
You have to talk about it. If you talk about it and read it, then it technically is a podcast. But you have to be doing extra stuff.
So if I did like a 10-minute excerpt and then another like 20 minutes discussing and dissecting the part that we read, that would be a podcast. Now I've bored myself. That sounds terrible. I'm not going to do that.
No, those ones are great. Like Jamie Loftus's Lolita, like the Lolita podcast, which I brought up before. That's a great podcast. Yeah. Like that was a great series that she did. And it basically was like a podcast book club where you like talk about the book and talk about like its current place in society and culture. And like, you're basically doing like a book report on the book as a podcast. And that was great. I mean, I'm a book nerd, but I liked it.
Yeah. I think you have to be smart though, to do something like that.
I don't know. I mean, Ryan and I are doing a sort of narrative podcast and I wouldn't say that we're particularly smart about it.
I am going to go. No, I'm just going to step out here and say that you both seem particularly smart. That's just the vibe you give off. If you are not.
Wow. Thanks, you guys. I was not digging for that compliment, but thank you so much.
I think the greatest thing about compliments is that you can fish for them.
That's true.
It's great.
That's very true.
Lex, do you want to get one?
A compliment or a fish?
Throw your line out. See what you come back with. See if we can get a nibble. What sort of thing do you want to sort of passively, disparagingly say about yourself that you know is untrue so that we can compliment you on it?
I'm so brain dead today that I have no idea.
No, you're not brain dead. You're so smart. You're brain smart.
I'll do it too. Lexi, you seem like you're really good at your job.
Hey, thank you. I don't feel like that, but I appreciate it.
It seems like you are.
Well, you have to be. You're not a white male, so you can't be moving upward by failing.
Yeah, that's true. This is it for me, folks.
I think my high school experience would have been greatly improved by seeing your face in the hallways.
Whoa, that is super nice.
That is really kind. Can I tell you, I was waiting in line at the cafeteria to buy cinnamon buns, and it's on They have cinnamon buns with delicious icing.
Made by students, though. How do you feel about that?
I'm fine with it. They go over tons of food safety and they watch them.
It's a fucking cinnamon bun, man. How bad can you mess up a cinnamon bun?
I mean, I went to school with some kids that were in food prep that I would not have eaten a single thing if they had
No,
been
I've
there
got a
that
couple
day.
kids in there that are like, don't touch this. And I'm like, no, but I fully trust our cafeteria. They're so good.
That's how you know you're getting the...
I was budging in front of the kids because I didn't want to wait because I had a meeting and I was like, but I really wanted cinnamon buns.
Okay, well now you're less cool.
But I was like, can I budge in front of you? And the girl was like, yeah, for sure. And her friend was like, but only if you buy me a cinnamon bun. And I was like, done. And so I bought her one.
Aww.
And she started crying. She was like, I really needed this today.
Oh my God.
And I was like, oh my God.
That's so sweet. God. It was self-serving, but it turned out really sweet.
I was like,
Get it? Because it was a cinnamon bun.
And I served myself from the cinnamon bun.
Nice. Cute.
I love cinnamon.
I get it.
Thank you.
Yeah, they're great.
That's good. Hey, Ben, do you want to compliment?
Yeah,
Ben, do you want to compliment?
No, I'm okay. I feel pretty good about myself most of the time.
Got that white dude going for you, hey?
Exactly. See?
Yeah, white men don't need compliments. Just your existence is enough.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for being you, buddy.
Thanks for being you. I actually did have one locked and loaded, but I can save it for later if you like.
No, let's hear it.
Yeah. Save it for when something really tragic happens in my life.
We want to hear nice things about
like if we get a dog and it mauls my child.
Get a dog.
I'm not going to now. You guys have soured me on the entire species.
As soon as they're older.
Yeah. My dogs are the reason I get up in the morning.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love my dog.
I thought it was us.
I mean...
Oh God, I got to deal with that indie podcast.
I'm really sorry, you guys, but
it's the dogs.
Care about my dogs. Yeah, they're my babies. I don't have any human babies. I have fur babies.
Jess, I'm there with you. It's dog time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
I was like you before I matured and had children. I'm totally joking. That's the biggest asshole thing a person can say.
It's just that like kids are better.
I just feel like if you had your own, I think that you would understand.
You feel different.
Yeah. No, I'm the person that constantly, when people would tell me about their children before I had any, would like relate to them by telling them anecdotes about my cat.
Yeah.
And then Fiona would pull me aside and be like, you have to fucking stop doing that. They're not the same.
It's offensive to say that to somebody who has fur babies, though, because kind of it's like that is the role that they play in your life.
Absolutely.
Like, are you really a woman because you haven't had any children?
Oh, well, now we're getting into a bigger discussion around gender and identity. Did you know that Joe Rogan hates cats?
And babies.
And women.
And dogs.
I mean, we did know the women thing.
And women. We knew he hated women. That one's not a surprise.
Did you know that Joe Rogan's favorite horse on the carousel is the tiger?
I don't know.
Did you know that Joe Rogan brushes his teeth with cinnamon toothpaste?
Oh, gross.
Not for me. Joe Rogan's favorite sweet is cinnamon hearts.
Oh, he likes those like candy corns at Halloween time.
Oh, I like those.
Yeah. Yes, so do I.
You and Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan licks Tootsie Pops before putting the wrapper back on and giving them out.
Oh my God. That's like somehow worse than razor blades.
At least you know what you're getting with a razor blade. Nobody knows where Joe Rogan's mouth has been.
Wow.
Joe Rogan's favorite breakfast is dry toast and room temperature water.
I love dry toast.
Oh my God.
I prefer with jam, but I'd take dry toast if that's what I could get. Like dry toast and coffee would be okay.
Ryan does that too.
I know. I'm teetering on like Ryan's oatmeal serial killer thing.
Yeah. And Ryan likes dry toast.
I think it's like
truly a serial killer.
Like it's third tier for me. Like it's toast with jam and a cup of coffee, then toast with butter and a cup of coffee, and then dry toast with coffee.
That's not even, I would honestly like not eat it. Like it is not on a tier for me.
Yeah, I'd be like, we don't have breakfast food in the house.
Most people without a personality disorder would probably agree with you. Sorry, Ryan.
No, he does have one. Can I tell you guys something about, I'm asking this question about Ryan as my partner. Not about him being a sociopath. Anytime there's an unspoken agreement, Ryan has done this anytime he goes to the grocery store without me, is that when he comes home from the grocery store, he brings me a little treat.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
And he went to the grocery store today and came home, and I looked at the basket and was like, where's my treat? Oh. And he was like, you didn't ask for a treat.
He Pavloved you.
I was like, I've never asked for a treat before, but you bring me a treat every single time, me not asking. And now I'm truly Pavlovian.
I hate to be the one that has to bring this up, but what you're dealing with is classic gaslighting. It's time to ditch him.
See, this is so funny because I was like, is Ryan trying to divorce me? Is this the beginning of the end? Is that he's like, no more little treats from the grocery store for you?
I'm answering like Reddit. There's only two answers. You're overreacting or the other person is trying to murder you.
Yeah, or cheating on you. It seems like Reddit always goes that route, like immediately.
Oh, yeah. He gave the treat to someone else.
This is why I have little Mars bites, is I had to go to the store by myself.
Get the Mars bites.
Wait, when you went back to the store to get the Mars bites, did you get Ryan a little treat?
No.
Okay.
Because Ryan doesn't get himself little treats. He only gets me little treats.
See, the way I thought this was going was that there's an unwritten rule that whoever goes, you bring something back for the other person.
Sometimes I do. But I went to the pharmacy yesterday to pick up the dog's medication.
And you brought the dog a little treat.
And I bought Ryan a Red Bull at the pharmacy. So I got Ryan a little treat yesterday.
That's good.
Were we looking for a verdict here or what? Are we just venting?
You guys both being like, he's gaslighting you was the reaction I wanted. So I feel resolved.
There.
Yes.
I did say the Pavlov, like he's conditioned you to want a treat. And John has done the same thing with me because when I have to work late, like, and I'm talking like 9 o'clock at night, typically those are the nights that he'll get Dairy Queen for himself because I'll be like, no Dairy Queen because it's unhealthy and we need to eat like vegetables or something. So whenever I'm not home, he gets Dairy Queen. And in the spring, he started getting me a tiny Blizzard because he's like, you've had a long day at work. You should have a Blizzard. And so I had a late night last week and I showed up at home and I was like, it's Blizzard time. Well, guess what? He's like, well, I didn't order Dairy Queen. And I'm like, but it was late evening. And he was like, well, it's still open. So I made him order Dairy Queen at like 9:30.
I'm fucking going on DoorDash right now.
I was like, I want a Blizzard.
A mini Blizzard.
I do love this.
A little treat.
Get a time of Blizzard. Yeah, get your treat. Get a little treat.
A little something for you.
That was not podcast related, but I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you guys indulging me.
You know what? Sometimes we try to stay on topic, and it turns out the topic wasn't as engaging as we hoped it to be.
Podcasting is engaging.
Fun.
I know we're almost at an hour, but I wanted to. Can I just say like 3 of my favorite podcasts?
I would love it if you did.
Yes, do it.
Okay, so and you guys can tell me if you've listened to them or if you have any interest in listening to them. So actually, I wanted to come back to what you were saying, Ben, about like escapism. I think escapism's really underrated. I think like pop culture stuff generally is looked down upon.
Absolutely.
But there's a reason that it's popular. And, you know, I think that just because something is like popular doesn't make it bad.
You know what? And I take that a step further into sort of the way that media made for women is sort of talked down to, and women are treated for enjoying their pop culture, but like men can go out and spend like $1,000 on Marvel figures and shit. And like,
exactly. And that's fine.
I'm a 45-year-old man who's wearing a Hulk shirt to school today. Like,
and that's okay. But then like women who like Britney, or whoever, I guess Britney is like not as contemporary. Maybe Taylor Swift, whatever.
Yes. For those who don't know, Britney is referring to Britney Spears. An early millennial pop star from the late 90s, early 2000s. She's not in a great place now.
What was the podcast, Jess?
Okay, so the podcast, I have a couple, but one of them is called Normal Gossip. And I also, so part of the popular thing, like podcasts have one of the longest tails out of any media, which basically just means that there's a ton of podcasts that have like, compared to like somewhere in like Joe Rogan, like really low listener rates. But those podcasts persist and continue putting out episodes because even though they have a smaller audience, they get so much out of their relationship with their smaller audience that it is enough to sustain them. So that's something else I like about podcasting.
That's awesome.
That being said, this is...
I'm concerned.
Why?
We have a smaller podcast audience, but we're not getting enough from them.
Well,
how dare you?
I'm
We're
joking.
Getting so much from
I've never asked.
No, but like we could like Patreon. You guys could do it Patreon. I don't know. I think you guys should try and do some like Comic-Con stuff. Anyway, we can talk about it later.
Yeah.
We'll just wait and see if we win this award this weekend.
One way or another, we're getting an award.
You guys would be the first ever time that I get to say that I'm an award-winning producer.
It's going to happen.
But you've been award nominated
before, but I've never won.
Yeah.
So.
Wow.
Do you ever feel weird about that? Like when you don't win, like, does it feel like the imposter thing pops up, or I'm asking personally?
No, because I honestly would be surprised if I ever win an award for my production.
No.
Well, you just wait, Jess.
There's just so many podcasts in the world, you guys. Like, that's mostly what it is. So, yeah.
I had not heard of the podcast that you mentioned that we're definitely focused on talking about.
Yeah, Normal Gossip.
Yeah. I had not heard of that.
Okay, great. So it's great. It's really good. This one's kind of more popular, but it's by, I wish I could remember, Caitlin McKinney? Nope, that's not right. What's her name?
Kelsey McKinney?
Kelsey McKinney. Yes, Kelsey McKinney is the host. And okay, I'm going to be honest, like some of the episodes are really great. Some of the episodes are not as engaging to me, but audience members send in gossip stories that they know about like friend of a friend's.
Ooh.
And then they tell these stories with a guest and they talk about like the importance of gossip and the role of gossip in society. And then they tell these stories and do like check-ins with the guests of like, how do you feel? Or like, what would you do? And some of them are like very juicy stories.
The production team has made a very nice PowerPoint of quotes.
She posted a PowerPoint in the Facebook group. A slide deck.
Well, I love this energy. Okay, first of all, the PowerPoint is titled In My Defense. Oh my God. Okay. She has made an interesting choice of layouts. We have like a hot pink Malibu Barbie situation. It has come to my attention that there are some things going around about me! Exclamation point. Subhead. I will not be falsely accused! Exclamation point. Next slide, please. Figure 1. Oh my God. Okay.
Describe
so
to
now
them what you're seeing.
I'm going to describe what I see. Okay. So this slide features 3 figures. Each is labeled figure 1, figure 2, figure 3, and each one features the dogs in question. And they're labeled figure 1, Diana, Princess of Wales, figure 2, Camilla, Queen Consort, figure 3, Kate, Duchess of Cambridge. And then there's a clip art of a banner, like a pink silk banner and some diamonds, just to give you that extra zhuzh that all these dogs are royal dogs. Okay, don't get it twisted.
That's good. I like that. I'm going to listen to that.
That's a great concept because you get to put most of the content creation on other people.
Yes, exactly. So great. So really good model.
We should just start answering Am I the Asshole?
So many people, so many podcasts that just exist from that.
What about, or we could do legal advice that's not legal. I mean, that's like the entire premise of Mabim Bam. My brother and me.
Yeah, that's true.
An advice show for the modern era.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so Normal Gossip's one of them. Another podcast that I really like is, have you guys heard the Buffy podcast from CBC?
No.
Buffy St. Marie?
Yeah.
As soon as you said CBC, we all knew who you're talking about.
We were talking about Buffy St. Marie.
If you're Canadian and above 30 years old.
And it's by this amazing... I mean, she does a bunch of different stuff, but Fallon Johnson is a creator. She's like a playwright, and she writes books, and she does podcasting stuff, and she does journalism things. And she did such a good job talking about Buffy St. Marie, Canadian icon, because Buffy has like
she's done so much.
An amazing story. Yeah. And they feature some of her music also and like talk about how her songs were written and stuff. So yeah, amazing Canadiana podcast. And a really great example of like, I think people still have this concept of like Canadian content isn't good from like the 80s when there were all of the like CanCon points and stuff. But like that system does not count for stuff like podcasting. Like the Canadian content that's coming out of podcasting is amazing. So like don't discount it just because it's Canadian. And then my last one on my list was like one of the most informative podcasts I guess not informative, but like formative for me as like somebody who was like, oh, I think I can make my own podcasts, is Caitlin Prest, also a Canadian, but has done a lot of work in the US and like New York. But she had this amazing series called The Heart that they still put out seasons sometimes. But she's done like everything. She's done interview format, narrative format. She does different seasons. She talks about like really sort of off the wall experiences that you wouldn't like necessarily think you can relate to, but there's something just like very human about the stories that she's telling. Yeah, I don't know. It's just like, to me, that's like the pinnacle of stories and the kind of stories that I want to tell. And she's very inspiring to me.
Oh, I love that. That's awesome.
You go through a forested area, down a steep embankment. There's like a 400 or 500 stairs down to Wreck Beach. And then it just sort of opens up into a quite large sandy beach. And there's logs all over the place where people set up. And there's a grassy area off to the south side of it where it's good for bird watching. I was a regular at the beach before I had the surgery, and I loved it. But then I had the bag, and the first time was very difficult. I felt really awkward. I mean, I felt like everybody must be looking at me and thinking, oh my God, what a freak. Scars were not something I'd want to be seen on the beach with. But I was just always aware of it. Oh my God, she's got an ostomy. The entire room is looking at me. Are you kidding me? That's crazy. I was in my early 20s and had some, I think, pretty immature ideas about body image, like that it was like important to be, flawless.
I've got 3 as well that I'd like to share, if that's okay.
Okay, let's all lean in because you're going to whisper them.
Speed round podcast. This is my This American Life voice.
Wait, do I have one of those?
You have to get like right up against it and then kind of whisper into it. Hey, this is American Life.
I like ASMR.
I don't like the whispering. It's the whispering that just like pushes it over the edge. Like, ugh.
So what if I get really close and I'm not quite whispering, but I'm also using a quieter voice?
That's This American Life.
Then that's okay. It's as soon as you whisper, then it gets
this is the voice I use to tell my cat that I love them.
Yeah, it's the whisper that.
My name is Ira Glass.
Whoa, that got really cool.
And this is American Life. Yeah. One of the first podcasts that I wouldn't necessarily say is like my favorite, but the one that really got me into podcasting was Stop Podcasting Yourself.
I don't know that one.
It's a Max Fun show.
It's one of the earliest. And when I worked at an art gallery in town, my manager, Candace, shout out to Candace, I love you, you're the best. She would play this and I could hear her laughing at it because it was just like friends shooting the shit.
This overheard is from way back in the 90s in a Wendy's in Keene, New Hampshire. It was so long ago that I was in line for the Wendy's taco and dessert buffet bar.
Wow. I remember that.
So it's when I heard this discussion between an elderly woman and her grown daughter saying, no, mother, that's not it. You don't have it right. That's not what the movie is called. Can we please just talk about something else? And the mom loudly replied, I am certain that I'm right. It's Pennsylvania, and it stars Tom Cruise, and he's got VD, and he's on a diet.
Everything was wrong. Everything was offensively wrong.
That's what kind of got me into podcasting. And from there, I started getting into other things. But John got me hooked on this podcast called Darknet Diaries. And it's basically like kind of true crime again, but it's just stories of like the dark web and cybersecurity. And it's fascinating, some of the stories that they can get into. And so that's our summer one. Like when we go for like really long walks or runs or something, we would listen to them and then talk about them at home.
Hey, it's Jack, host of the show. I was talking with some online criminals the other day, which I guess I talk to criminals a lot. It's kind of weird. But someone told me a story that really put me in deep thought. Okay, so the story goes, and I have no way of confirming this is true, but this guy swears it's true. He told me that he knows this guy, an online scammer, hacker, criminal guy, who was caught and arrested in 2016. Now, at that time, Bitcoin was just worth $600 per coin. The police seize everything from this guy. His computers, his phones, all electronics, CDs, thumb drives, everything. But they didn't take his notebook. And in that notebook was the private key to his Bitcoin wallet. He was able to stash it in a safe place before going to prison. Currently, he's still in prison, and Bitcoin has risen above $30,000 per coin. This guy's wallet has 18 Bitcoins in it. He's due to get out next year, and the police still don't know about his hidden Bitcoin. It was only worth $10,000 when he got arrested, but today it's worth almost $1 million. All he'll need to do to get that Bitcoin is to find the private key in that notebook he wrote down 5 years ago. And that's such a trip for me to think about. A criminal losing everything, starting from scratch, but the day he walks out of jail, he'll be a millionaire. All because he was able to hold on to that Bitcoin the whole time.
And then I loved Limetown, the first season.
I mean,
first season of Limetown, so good.
Well, that's what I want to talk about, like podcasts that disappointed you, and that's that like story form.
Yeah.
Yeah, Limetown season 2 was just like, what's happening?
Yeah, and I loved season 1 so much. I still remember I just started a job downtown in Calgary. And I was driving to work, and I was actually late to my job because I was in the parkade of my building listening to the end of the episode, being like, oh my God. And then my coworker knocking on my window to be like, are you coming up? And it scared the shit out of me. And then I was so excited for season 2. And then I was just like...
Yeah. I mean, that's also how I felt about Serial season 2.
Yes.
I've never listened to Serial.
The first season really is, I thought, worth it, but everything afterwards, not so much.
So is the premise that it's supposed to be true crime, but then it turns out to be fiction?
No, it's true crime.
No, Serial was true crime.
Yeah.
Oh, is there one? I feel like somebody lied to somebody during their podcast, but maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. Stop podcasting yourself as Canadian too, by the way.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Just a little throw there. One of the most long enduring Canadian podcasts, 800 plus episodes, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh la la.
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool.
Yep. Oh, and we should give a shout out to Good Enough Gaming Podcast because we were guests on their show. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, our pals. Yeah. There's an episode of us with them talking about games.
Art and games.
Weren't you guys also a guest on the Snack Show?
Oh, yeah, we were. Yeah. And that was so much fun. The Mess Hall Podcast, which they've since shifted gears and they're doing something different, but that was super fun. And I got to go down to the Comic Expo in town and eat some snacks with our buddies, and it was awesome.
Now it's called the Hall Mess Podcast, and it's just about cleaning up after your kids.
That's not as exciting.
Sounds not as yummy.
Parenting podcasts are where it's at, okay? I don't know of any.
I know one parenting podcast because one of my podcast heroes is Dan Meisner, and he has this live event called Grown Ups Read Things They Wrote as Kids.
I love that. Yes.
Yeah, me too. And then he did another podcast called How to Not Fuck Up Your Kids Too Bad.
Like that.
And that's a parenting podcast.
The problem with that, though, is you won't know if he is an expert or not until his kids are old enough to tell us whether or not he fucked up.
Spoiler alert. I think actually Dan doesn't have kids. So I think that he had parents also who worked on the show with him. He's just a producer. This is the thing, is producers can make shows about things.
Well, I don't care for that sort of lie.
Well, Ben, I have done how many Star Trek episodes at this point and couldn't tell you one thing about Star Trek.
That is awesome.
I bet you could tell us at least 2 things about Star Trek.
Yeah, let's do it right now, Jess. Or 2 things about Star Trek. Just any 2 things.
You have to be honest. You can't just fake it just because you said you didn't know anything.
Okay. I know that Trekkies are very passionate.
That is accurate.
All right. I was looking more for show detail.
Okay, fine. I know that Below Decks is the animated version of Star Trek.
That is accurate.
And that was almost the right name.
What is it? Below?
Lower Decks.
Lower Decks. Is Below Deck? Wait, is Below Deck the reality TV show of the people who do yachting, who work on yachts?
I
have no idea. That sounds wonderful.
It's so, Lexi, you gotta watch a really good reality TV.
I wouldn't do that one.
Okay, and my second fact, that hopefully this one's accurate, is gonna be that apparently if you're a fan of the movies over the TV series, you're not a real fan.
Yeah.
Oh, fascinating.
Is that true?
Not from my perspective. Yeah.
Oh, I feel like that it was the vibe I got.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm absolutely believe and agree that there is a contingent of terrible fans out there that sincerely believe that. Well, on the bright side, you were right. You did not know 2 things about Star Trek.
Here's another fun fact. Tom Paris is Joe Rogan's favorite Star Trek character.
Joe Rogan hates Star Trek.
Whoa.
No, he loves Tom Paris, Ben.
Yeah, but he hates Star Trek. Yeah.
Oh, wait. I have one more Star Trek fact.
Okay.
There is a character that fucks a ghost.
That is accurate.
Probably more than once.
Yeah, probably.
Probably more than once they fuck the same ghost, or more than one character fucks a ghost?
Well, yeah, that one.
Yeah.
I mean,
both.
Yeah.
We don't know how long that
Memories?
relationship goes on.
I mean, remember when Picard like fell asleep, fell in love, and lived a whole life?
Yeah, lived an entire life. Does that count as a ghost?
No, he like a memory.
Right. But is a memory a ghost?
Would that just be a wet dream?
Sort of.
I guess if
I
you
don't
add
know.
science to it, it might be
I don't
more. If you had tech, is it more?
I used to get into our friend. I used to talk to him about like if you have sex, like if you picture yourself having sex, is it the same as actually having sex? And we talked about it. The more graphic, the more it's like it became very philosophical.
Why?
I don't remember how it came up.
I do.
Seems like a classic thing.
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah. Name 2 things that you know about.
His name will never be said on the podcast. It will always be bleeped.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, it really
it's for
is.
the best.
He inherited a house. Is that who?
Did he inherit a house?
Who am I thinking of?
Oh, that's one of the guys that I work with who inherited the random house.
Oh, no. Yeah, no. Bought a zoo with his family.
And Joe Rogan burnt it to the ground.
Joe Rogan, you rogue.
Yeah. Oh, this is a special Joe fact. He hates animals.
All animals.
All of them.
All animals.
Wow.
Especially humans.
That's why he subscribes to the carnivore diet.
Yeah. Likes to eat them one by one.
Do you guys have any podcast questions that you can try and stump me with that are not Star Trek related?
I had an entire list of like stuff that I expected us to go through here in a very structured manner, and we did not hit any of it because I got distracted with doing Joe Rogan
that's been
jokes.
fun.
So this is going to be called Podcasting the Joe Rogan Experience when I actually publish this.
Do you want to read us the list?
We talked about why do we podcast. We did hit that one. Favorite pods we got to. Has a pod ever let you down? I'm sort of there with Limetown discussion.
Yeah.
There's been a few others, but who cares? Whatever. What does success in podcasting look like?
That's a good question.
And we can talk about that very briefly as a personal thing, but then also from a statistic
like a
thing, financial thing. On that part, from what I understand, you need at least 1,000 listeners per episode before you can even start to monetize. Does that sound accurate, Jess?
I mean, I've been told that number before too, but it kind of depends.
Is it one of those things that just everyone says and nobody actually knows, so they just keep saying it?
That is, I think, the average that a lot of people experience. It really depends. Like once you kind of hit that level of critical mass, then yeah, it probably is easier to get funding. And like a lot of brands won't look at you unless you have those kind of numbers to have them give you money. But I don't know. I mean, I work on a lot of branded content that like they do not have that level of listenership, but they came into it with existing relationships. So they were able to get funding right away. So I think that there's not any hard and fast rule.
I mean, and as an editor producer, isn't success for you working? Like people continuing to hire you to do jobs? I'm not joking with that one. I mean,
yeah. That is success to me, is that I can pay my bills. And actually, like personally for my own podcast, my dad listened to the first episode of Brook and told me he really liked it. So the fact that my dad listened to it and said I did a good job was like what I wanted.
Cute and wholesome. Isn't that what the kids say? It's wholesome.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is wholesome.
That's cool.
That's
nice. Cool success.
What is success for you guys?
For Lexi, she quits teaching and becomes a celebrity who travels the world podcasting on stage.
I would love that.
Ooh,
I would
be sick.
honestly, my true, like if I could quit or cut back on the education side of things, and I think that I would be a good host. Like, I think that I would be a really good Q&A like moderator. And so I'd love to do like interview shows, or I really would like to do, like we've talked about this many times. Like I have like 5 ideas for different podcasts that are narrative, historical, or like playing games and things like that. So I would love to do that.
You'd be good at it.
Love to do that. That'd be fun. Ben?
What?
Success. What is your success in podcasting?
Oh, success for me is just Fiona still listening to the show and giving me money to do it.
Thank you, Fiona.
Yeah. Thank you, Fiona.
That's fun. Yeah.
That's kind of similar to my dad. Listen to my work.
Money, please. Like she listens to it literally every episode and likes it and enjoys it and engages with it. And that's cool.
So
She's
nice.
the best.
Yeah.
That's fun. It's fun for me. It's a little bit embarrassing, but in a sweet way.
It's weird how sometimes I at work now that a few more people are listening to the podcast and talk to me about it. Like it's weird for me in that like the only people who call me Lexi are like my art friends that know me from that time in my life. And so when people refer to me as Lexi, it's kind of like it pulls on my heartstrings a little bit because it was such an important time in my life that I missed that person. So that's nice, and I appreciate that.
I felt really tripped up when you and I were interacting in your professional workspace. I was like, I don't know what to call you.
I know. I was like, sorry, dude.
Because I would always just call you Lexi. And then I was like, Alexandra? Like, it was a hard shift.
It's so weird because there's some people who, even though like people will call me Alexandra, and I'm like, I don't go by that. And they're like, I'm just going to call you that. I'm like, all right, cool.
Yeah, I think we should respect people's names.
It's a weird thing, right?
Yes. Yeah. Would you be offended if someone called you Benjamin?
I mean, not offended, but it's not my preferred nomenclature. I associate Benjamin with a parent who was not a good experience.
That's fair.
Try not to open up too much. She doesn't listen to the show. She was abusive. And so that's, I don't think anybody in my family listens, which is fine by me. But yeah, so I don't want to hear the person who refused to call me by the name I wanted to be called by my entire life, and think about that. If you can empathize with that, then you can probably start to care about a lot of other things that you maybe don't already, and other people's plights.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so no, I'm not offended by Benjamin, but I don't like it.
Yeah.
It's not my jam. Get it? Because Ben, jam.
Hey. I've only been called Jessie by like close family or my niece and nephew or gym teachers.
Oh.
Gym teachers love picking a different name than what you already are named.
That's because they're sort of have taken a few too many dodgeballs to the head, and so they can't really respect people. I had this fucking gym teacher who would like constantly go off about how like if we chewed gum, we were going to start doing drugs. And I don't know if he thought he was funny or if he was serious, but he was neither. Like neither of those were good answers to why.
I'd love to see the stats on the gum to drug pipeline.
Like, what would those be?
How would you even track that? Did you ever have gum?
Everybody in high school was walking around with an Excel pack and just like popping gum bits. Like that was like a fad.
Yeah, because it was pre-vape.
Yeah, it was pre-vape. We couldn't vape in high school yet.
Oh,
that was vapes before vapes.
Can kids vape in high school, Lexi?
Can or do they? I mean, do they? Yes. Can they? No.
No, I assume yes.
They're not supposed to.
Do the kids smoke in school?
It's a rare thing to see a kid with a cigarette, but they do exist. I saw one the other day.
Okay, but those are the coolest kids. Yeah, those are the cool ones.
Like when you see like a bear.
Did you rip it out of their mouth and like snap it in half and throw it on the ground?
No, because I don't want to touch them.
You can't touch kids, Jess.
I try not to touch the children.
Joe Rogan fact: touches kids.
Oh no,
that's the one that's going to get us in trouble.
I'm not going to elaborate in what way, but do what you want with that. Did I go too far?
I don't think that was any further than anything else we've said about Joe Rogan here.
Okay, good.
Do you want to read through the rest of your list?
Yeah, let's go. Favorites right now, I'll do like all-time favorites. My Brother and Me was a good one for me, mostly because there was such a back catalog of it that I could listen to it while I was working on the graphic novel that I did, and so I feel like a special closeness to that and like Naruto because that's what I watched.
Rob Thomas, if you're listening, I know you are. I enjoy your work solo, your work with Matchbox 20, and now your 2 single work with Carlos Santana.
I love his work. I love his work solo.
Solo, you can't hear it.
Oh shit!
Did you not see that coming, Griffin?
No, that was great.
Yeah, you got him.
That was fucking funny, Juicer.
I do like Smooth though.
But Spout Lore is this great show of these 4 pals in Victoria that actually do like a adjacent Dungeons and Dragons style, one of the tabletop RPG games. It's really well produced. They all seem to have like a bit of a background in stand-up comedy, which really makes them great at like just keeping a joke going, and just it's a blast. It's super funny, and it makes me proud that it comes from a province one over.
Canadian.
Gather round, friends, let me tell you a tale of 3 heroes, noble and bold. A brute, a druid, and a thief who is but 9 years old. You know them by name, you know them by deed. Their quests are famously daring. So here I sit, singing to you an adventure that is worth sharing. Tuckus the brute, he knows not his home, he loves to sing and fight. Fingers half elf, he shifts his shape and wields a spear with great might. Billy's a thief, his tiny size does mask the largest heart. best and brightest they may not be, but their friendship outweighs their smarts. So gather round, friends, and listen close, for the tale's about to start.
Yeah, I don't know. What's my third one? I think maybe it's probably the Flophouse. I think right now is what I'm super into. I'm not like I don't listen to every single episode, but I like finding movies that I'm interested in or have seen, and then like just going through that with them. It's everybody knows the Flophouse though. Yeah, that's one of my faves.
Guys, how does E.T. poop?
Dan? Well, he's not that regular, but I mean, as he's gotten older, shoots out. He has 2 cloacas, one under each arm.
Oh.
Which he expels when he's frightened, like a squid.
What an amazing way to ruin that movie, as if it was like so heartbreaking and so touching, but unfortunately every time he's surprised he just shoots shit out of his armpits. It's like, man. Steven, we got to talk to you. The movie is nearly perfect. We think this has the potential to be the highest grossing film of all time. And Steven goes, yeah, because of the poop pits. And they're like, that's the one thing we wanted to talk to you about.
He's like, are you sure? Because that tested really well with me.
And I don't listen to anything serious. I should probably try.
I don't know. Like, I listen to some serious podcasts. Like, I was just listening to Stolen, which is about a woman who went missing.
I assumed it was about Liam Neeson.
No, it is really sad.
Oh no.
But it also is like important to talk about like Indigenous women who are, just like more vulnerable generally across North America. So, but sad, like very sad to listen to. Like I was listening to it while I was gardening because I was like, I need some sunshine while I listen to this.
Oh, it's a heavy topic.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I can't focus long enough on something like that. It's really hard for me to. People building magical fake universes. I'm there. I'm just like wrapped. It's my favesies, as they say.
I don't know though. People are always like, oh, it should be like hard, or you should have to be like forcing yourself to listen to it. And I don't really subscribe to that anymore. Like I had a professor in university who her whole thing was Shakespeare. Like she loved Shakespeare. She'd loved Shakespeare since she read her first Shakespeare play at like the age of 8 or 9. Like she lived and breathed and dreamed Shakespeare and had been doing that for her whole entire career. And I was like, I'm never going to be that passionate about Shakespeare. And it's something that if I did try to do that, I'd be forcing myself the entire time. I've never had to force myself to make podcasts.
No, that's good. That's probably a measure of success as well.
Yeah.
Favorite non-audio pods?
Non-audio pods. What does that mean?
For me, orcas.
Oh my God.
Oh, okay. Okay. I have one. Peas.
Yes. We might have taken the only 2. Lexi, please come up with an answer.
Whatever Anakin drove on Tatooine.
Ooh,
racers.
That's a good one.
Oh, that might be better than orcas.
Yeah,
Thank
it's
you.
better than
Thank
peas for sure.
Peas are great though. Nobody should down
peas are
shit on
they're
peas.
great.
Are fantastic. You know what's a great dish? As an aside,
is it pea related?
No, it's toast and pea related.
Oh my God!
But like not urine, like PEA.
Like mushy peas on toast?
Sort of. So what you do is you take toast, you have some like fried chicken, like an old rotisserie or whatever. You shred that up, you place that on top of the chicken, you get some gravy, you pour that on, and then you top with peas. And it's so great. It was a very fond memory, one of my fond memories of childhood to balance out the sad bomb I gave earlier.
That's a good one. Peas are, I put peas in stew.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, stew.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I feel like is kind of the same vibe as like chicken gravy.
No, we're entering stew season, which is also making me happy. Like I am a basic bitch, 100%. I've got like Halloween decorations up, fall decorations up. I put up my sunflowers.
Nice.
Got my jack-o'-lantern mug that I'm drinking coffee out of every day.
Nice. Does your jack-o'-lantern mug go away in not fall season?
No, I mean it's in the cupboard. Yeah, so it does go away. Yeah. Oh, when I say I'm basic, I'm basic. I have spoon rests for every season.
Nice. That's
I have about
great.
6 spoon rests so that I can even do like the in-between portions of seasons that like,
I have tea towels for every season.
Oh yeah, me too. I love it. That's fantastic.
I got wreaths for the door.
Yeah. Yeah, same
every season. Yeah.
There's actually a really good wreath maker in Calgary, and I wish I could remember their Etsy name because that would be a fun shout out.
I'm going to show you my wreaths. I made the hell out of a Halloween wreath last year, and I'm so excited to put it back up. I'll send a picture.
Ooh. Lexi, that should be one of the prizes.
Yeah, we should just give away a wreath.
That I make. It's really
That's awesome.
They're very hard to ship.
Why not?
Yeah. It would have to be local listeners only.
Yeah. Well, or anybody who's willing to drive to Calgary to pick it up.
to Calgary. Pick up a wreath. And meet me in a mall parking lot at a very lit location where the police station's nearby.
Oh, no, you do exchanges at police stations. Yeah.
No murder.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's the one thing cops are good for.
Not murdering people?
No, for buying products from strangers off the internet.
Joe Rogan fact endorses police murder.
Ooh. Murder of police or police murdering people?
Oh, wow.
He hasn't specified.
Ooh.
He's playing both sides.
Wow.
He's like, I'm a civil servant. I can't weigh in on this.
I'm not saying anything.
Well, I mean, you have a podcast. You actually have said an hour and 25 minutes of stuff.
Yeah, that's accurate.
Does podcasting have a future, Jess?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like, podcasting is just like the latest iteration of radio.
Yeah. Storytelling.
Yeah.
Sitting around in oral history or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think oral history is very important. And I don't know, I love working in audio. I hate having to do video. I was trying to make a freaking TikTok for Rooked, and I wanted to blur my feet because I thought it would be so funny to blur my feet so that like chess perverts can't look at my feet. And I had to give up. I was like, I can't possibly make the blur track on this video.
I know you're not looking for new names for your podcast, but Chess Perverts is up there.
Yeah, that's a great name.
That might be the next season because there's bad stuff in chess, you guys.
There has to be the cross section. The Venn diagram there is going to be wild. It's going to be just two circles on top of each other humping.
Season 2, Rooked Chess Perverts. I'm forecasting it now. You heard it here first.
Wait. That's going to be awesome.
We're 1 episode into our 10-episode run of season 1, but that's fine. Season 2 coming your way.
When does the next episode drop, Jess, unless that's putting you on the spot?
Nope, it's not putting me on the spot at all. We're doing monthly because more than that was too much for a podcast that doesn't have any support except for me and Ryan. So the next episode is going to be out on October 3rd. And then it's going to be every first Tuesday of the month after that, which I was thinking about. And Lexi, wasn't that the cadence that you had for your podcast?
Yeah.
Nice.
Once a month.
Cool. So we've just stolen Lexi's thing for her other podcast.
Do it.
Are we going to hear more art intervention?
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite podcasts.
Me too.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a much better show.
No, it's not.
Than ours.
It's not a competition, Ben.
It's a different,
tell that to the People's Choice Podcast Awards.
Unfortunately, Art Intervention, I don't think was nominated.
It wasn't, but it was featured on Hot Docs a while ago, but
heck yeah.
Hot dogs are one of my favorite foods.
I've got a couple ideas. It's finding the time, but I've spoken with an artist in Ireland that I was trying to team up with to do a limited run, and so I haven't heard back from them. So I might just go ahead and do it anyway. But I've got some ideas of things I'd like to do.
I'm crossing my fingers, which is not a good visual for podcasting.
It is if you say it.
Jess is crossing her fingers.
Lexi has tented her fingers and then folded them into each other and now is using them as a rest for her head.
Like Mr. Burns. Excellent.
We should start doing some crude hand gestures.
Yeah.
Oh, whoa, Lexi. Whoa.
That's Joe Rogan's favorite hand gesture, what Lexi just did.
Crude. We didn't do who's that Pokemon?
Oh my God, it's Joe Rogan.
I mean, there is no other answer.
Some of the things we said tonight are true and some were not. All of them were said as entertainment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you can't sue us, Joe Rogan.
Yeah. And why would you?
Come on, Joe.
Why would you care about what we have to say, Joe Rogan?
Because he's a thin-skinned little man prick.
Probably not even the meanest stuff that has been said about Joe Rogan.
That is true. Very tame. Come on.
That is a true Joe Rogan fact. Well, we've probably taken up more than enough time on this episode.
I'm going to cut it down.
Yeah, good luck with this one.
Thank you.
We try sometimes now. We'll get better at it. And then someday we'll have like 250 episodes and we'll just tell everyone to start at like 151.
I think it's 78 and just go from there.
Yeah,
except for all of the Stardew Valley.
Oh, yeah.
At that point, you'll be on like return to.
Those are still worth. I don't know what we're gonna do for the next time if we haven't given up already. Yeah, it would be. We'd be at 3 return tos. I don't know what there is left to talk about. I guess 1.6 actually, because that'll be out by then.
Would love to hear more of all of the headcanon you guys are generating.
I like that. That's good.
Well, thanks. There's a lot. Yeah. Some of those relationships are weird.
Some of them are very weird. Yeah. So
Yeah.
like I kind of like and hate the idea of the wizard being like the father
Everyone's
of the entire
dad.
Yeah. That's weird.
Has
but
sired everyone.
yeah, I don't like that. It is gross.
And he's hired all these men to just come to town and pretend to be dads.
Do you think they're real? Or are they just like a magic? Like he magicked them.
Well, it's a video game, Lexi.
Yeah, but do the NPCs exist themselves?
This is getting
I mean,
yeah.
Wow.
The meta.
More than usual.
All right, levels.
Maybe we all just need to go to bed.
Yeah, it's sleepy time.
Until next time, Joe Rogan likes to lick subway poles. Dork to the dork.
Joe Rogan.
Thanks for listening to Dork Matters. If you like the podcast, subscribe, give us a rating, and tell your friends about us.
If you are a fellow dork and have a dork issue that you think we need to discuss, tell us on our social media. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter. You can also check out original art and other content from Ben and myself.
We'd like to say a big thank you to Yabra for the use of our theme song, Dance, off of their Astral EP, as well as a thank you to Jess Schmidt for producing and editing our podcast. Thanks, Jess.
Dork Matters.
This podcast is created on the traditional territories of the Blackfoot Nations, which includes the Siksika, the Bagaini, and the Kainai. We also acknowledge the Stoney Nakoda Nation, Tsutena, and Métis Nation Region 3.